It was Mother Teresa who said, "Don't tire of giving," as she was talking to her contributors. "But don't give your leftovers," she said. "Give until it hurts." You can just see her little form saying that. And it meant something coming from her, because what had she given? Well, she had given everything. "Don't tire of giving," she said, but don't give your leftovers to God. "Give until it hurts. Give until you feel the pain," she said. And again, "If you give what you don't need," she said, "it isn't giving." And to give what we don't need is, if you like, what we might call surplus giving. Now, the exact opposite of surplus giving is what Jesus is commending to us in our text, and that is sacrificial giving. The exact opposite of surplus giving. The exact opposite of the way probably most people give. Notice again, verse 41, "And Jesus sat down opposite the treasury, opposite this collection box. He watched the people putting money into the offering." They're at their church, and they're giving. And Mark says, "And many rich people were putting in large sums." Notice all of the relative contrasts in the story. The rich, the poor widow, large gift, small gift. Jesus sat down opposite the treasury and watched the people putting money into the offering box. Many rich people were putting in large sums. Verse 42, "And a poor widow came and put in 2 small copper coins, which make a pity." She was a poor woman. That is to say, she was stricken with poverty. She lived in abject poverty. In fact, in a society where most people are poor, when somebody's called poor, they're really poor. She wasn't like the others. She wasn't rich, or even rich like us. Oh, you didn't know you're rich. Most Americans don't. In fact, Andy Stanley, in his book, How to Be Rich, wrote this. He said, "In America, the rich are always other people who have more than we have." "Well, I just drive a Lexus. He's got a Bentley." He's rich. In America, the rich are always other people who have more than we have. Very few Americans think of themselves as rich. The rich are always others. In America, nobody is rich, but everyone knows someone who is. Shane Claiborne, in his book Irresistible Revolution, wrote this: the United States, the population of the United States makes up less than 6% of the world's population, but consumes nearly half of the world's resources. The average American consumes as much as 520 Ethiopians. And so Jesus sat down opposite the treasury and watched the people putting money into the offering box, and many rich people put in large sums. Verse 42, "And a poor widow came and put in 2 small copper coins, a lepton, as it is in the Greek, or lepta, which is the plural, because she gave 2. It's basically, a lepton is 1/8 of a cent. And 2 of them makes 1/4 of a cent. Now that seems like a really a little bit of money, because you can't buy anything for a penny. But I'm old enough to remember when you could buy stuff for a penny, and the generations before me can remember when you could buy quite a bit for a penny. In fact, my father-in-law, who just passed away earlier this year, he used to talk about how an ice cream cone cost a nickel. Well, yeah, I don't remember the last. Here's a young guy with the long hair. He's laughing, a nickel, right? I was like, What does an ice cream cone cost? In fact, the kids Victoria was in town, and her fiance Elijah and Linda, and we went to one of the frosty stone, the cold stone thing, whatever. I said, okay, yeah, everybody, I got the credit card, everybody line up. They got it was like $40. I said, what? What do you got for a nickel? I mean, I think maybe in my day, my ice cream cone might have cost $1, maybe $1.25 or something like that. Maybe, as I recall. It's been some years since I bought an ice cream cone. But anyway, so she had this lepton, the two little copper coins. And she put it in amongst all these richer people. Verse 43, and Jesus called his disciples. Well, they were just there. He was just saying, hey, pay attention. Look lively, boys. I got something for you to see, and I want to describe it and explain it to you. And so Jesus called his disciples to him, and he said, truly I say to you, this poor widow woman has put in more than all those who are contributing to the offering box. And here's what he means by that. Because she didn't put in more, did she? Not really. I mean, she really did, but relatively speaking, they're putting in lots more than a couple of lepton, more than 1/4 of 1 cent. So in terms of the actual dollar value or monetary value of by comparison of what they were putting in, they were putting in bigger sums of money, and she the smaller. But he says she's put in more, and in verse 44 we have an explanation of that. For he says, for all contributed out of their abundance, out of their surplus, what they really didn't need. They would give that, and that wouldn't change their lifestyle one bit. But she, out of her poverty. By the way, as a pastor, I never tell what we would call poor people, I never tell them not to give. That's up to them and God. In fact, the suggestion here is that the poor make better givers with God than the rich. Jesus said, truly I say to you, this poor widow woman has put in more than all those who are contributing to the offering box, for they all contributed out of their abundance. But she, out of her poverty, has put in everything she had, all she had to live on. And so Jesus commends to us this widow. Look here, guys. She's the one. She's the example. She's the hero in this circumstance. She's the one. She's the model to follow. Not because of the amount she gave, but because of the sacrifice she made in giving it. And so I wonder, what kind of giving commitment would you need to make in order for your giving to be a true sacrifice to God? I close with words from C.S. Lewis on this same subject. He said, giving is an essential part of Christian morality. You can't be a Christian and not give. As to how much we should give, he says, I'm afraid the only safe rule is to give more than you can spare. In other words, if your expenditure on comforts and luxuries and amusements is up to the standard of those with an income like your own, you're probably giving too little. If our giving does not at all pinch and hamper us, I should say that our giving is too small. There should be things that we would like to do, but that we cannot do because our giving won't allow it. And so I wonder what kind of sacrifices you and I might be making to be faithful to God with our finances. Because to give biblically is to give sacrificially. Amen? Amen.